Sometimes, when you only have so much money to spare, you need to look around the house and see what you can use to build the things that you want. You know what I mean? So first, we get rid of the extraneous cat hair. And then, for this day 77 of 100 Days of Making Comics, a little internet challenge in which we spend at least half an hour every day, in spite of our busy schedules, to work on our personal comic book projects, as shown the way by Kevin Cross, the man behind Monkey Mod. I'm just saying, this might just be the right height for a temporary drawing table on this day 77. So what's been happening? Well, lots of things have been happening. A lot of the footage I've been shooting, drawing and writing, is going to be integrating in this double billing, as you may have noticed from the title, because, well, my internet is still in ADSL, and therefore, I shouldn't have to say this, but when it rains, that means there's no internet. So, this is stable enough. And that means, let's see. So, the uploading from late last night, same as the day before, because it was because the weather here took a turn for the worse, and it's 10 degrees lower than it should be. But you know, no comment there. The upload times went from the usual 1 to 2 hours to 16, 17. So eventually, when I woke up this morning, I just gave up and figured I'm just going to shoot some new footage. I'm going to continue on my day 78 and just, ow, that's my knee, and just make the best of it. What say you? I don't want to be here. Time to clip somebody's nails. So yeah, that's kind of what's been happening. Bad weather, but rearranging the studio a little bit more, making it a little bit more practical, and making more progress on both the comic book and some other art I have to do. Stop playing with the cable, thank you. I've got a little assignment at work, so now that I've gone part-time, they don't actually know that over in Belgium, but I guess they're just gonna have to find out the hard way. Actually, they're closed today as well, because it's the 1st of May. Apparently it's Labor Day, I don't know, but it's a national holiday in Belgium. That's why I have the day off, besides being part-time. So this week I'm only working two days. So it's time for the healthy habits to get started, and I found, I guess I can just, you know, repeat myself from yesterday and just take that bit of voiceover out. So I found that I kind of was stalling these last couple of days and focusing a lot more on writing, because the writing I attempted for the two new pages, so one page kind of came naturally, but the second new one, which was kind of improvised because of the way the pages, the pagination fell. I figured it would be a good opportunity to insert an extra page, and then I thought of, well, what could that be? And then I thought, like, okay, well, just like on the new page 4, I added a bit of a personal touch to the ambition of one lady. I could do the same with yet another person on the ship. So that there's at least 2 people who have a personal motivation, only to then realize that actually some of the other people, it is a lot more clearer than I thought, but it can't hurt. I'm just going to put it in. But that second extra page I want to insert just didn't write itself. The scene did, the visuals did, but what I'm actually going to like, I don't know, like for some reason for this character, it is not as obvious what it should be. And I kind of want to illustrate a little bit more about the world this science fiction tale takes place in. And so I don't want to say I'm stuck, it's just that I have all these different ideas and I've been trying them out, so I've just been writing a lot more. Just in case you're new to my channel, my name is Jan and I am working for 100 days on my own comic book, which is called Fast Forward. Here's a little sneak peek. I've just printed it out just the other day. I now have 26 pages of these rough inks that were made on top of the rough pencils, inserting the rough dialogue. These are like the phases I go through, and so right now I am doing another phase of writing, as this is the first time I get to see the whole comic book come together like this. This is where one of those extra new pages is going to go into, and then right after that should be another round of art. So I have about 3 weeks of 100 Days of Making Comics left, and in those 3 weeks I intend to redo all this art. And so I am preparing to do just that, and one way I'm going to be doing that today is by going over every page and taking count of every character and their position, the positioning of their heads and whatnot, and putting that in a separate file and just penning down their characteristics, like a Bible, if you will. The more I draw, the more my skill improve, and I just kind of want to do it again. And yeah, so that's kind of what this little video series is about, making this comic book a reality so you can hold it in your hands and have a read for yourself. But if in the meantime you'd like to read along with what this is all about, since I do like to talk about developments in the story and just like little problems I run into, feel free to download it. You can do so for free over on Gumroad. The link will be down below, and that'll make it a little bit more fun and understandable when I go off on a little ramble, as I tend to do. Somebody pointed out just the other day, they're afraid of spoilers because I've been posting the snippets of the entire story organized along six-issue storyline. So I guess I should kind of warn when I do spoil, but in the past videos I've always spoiled the entire story because I think part of the fun of watching something like this video series is how I tackle certain problems writing and art-wise, and yes, that of course will spoil things because it is a work in progress, the story, and so things do change, and I do want to talk about that. But I guess as we're getting closer to actually finishing in the new first issue, some new followers might not want, who are not aware of the whole story having been spoiled in the past, might not want the story being spoiled now. So that's a new development as well. So let's see what we can do with this little thing over here in the meantime. So just a second. And so let me show you my little addition. Under here goes the A4 sized printer paper. That is the cheapest paper you can buy in large amounts, I guess. That's the stand for my Mac. So I've got a little table that I always have in my bedroom besides my bed to put my coffee on for when I'm watching a movie, but it is just the perfect height. So now I've got my Cintiq right up here. I'm happy. Mike Emirates, that's your poster over there, but eat your heart out. No nails required. I'm pretty pleased with myself, actually. This is pretty awesome. The little page I was talking about, and then the follow-up. But in the meantime, now that I've got this set up, what could be the next step? Oh, actually, something really silly. I just realized I bought a couple of these and I just haven't put them to use, of course. Buy stuff, don't use them. It only just occurred to me that I can use these on the Cintiq, of course, instead of using the ellipsis tool or the circle tool, which is a serious pain. I can just, I don't know why, but all of a sudden it just occurred to me and my mind just exploded. Because I got a bunch of them, a bunch of these rulers, and so this whole idea of, you know, having to use these tools in Photoshop when I can just grab one of those. Awesome. Speaking of little Photoshop tips, Jeff Lafferty was kind enough to point out just the other day that you can use the type tool and just type in the font size you want up to 1200 rather than just 72, which is of course insignificant when you're working in 600 dpi. If you're not familiar with Jeff, Jeff makes incredible movie art, but is also working on his comic books, The Berserkernaut, and has just announced he's doing 100 Days of Making Comics. Finally, there's someone behind me. So welcome to the fold. I'm looking forward to Jeff's videos. Be sure to follow the link down below to his channel because we get to see a lot more of his techniques, I bet, which is going to be awesome. And also congrats to Case Comics, who just completed 100 days. Bone McKay just completed 100 days. Marshall Lee, if I didn't do that here already, I think I did, but it's, when you get in the 70s, it's hard to keep track of what you mentioned and what you haven't. Never mind what day it actually is. 78. So yeah, and wait, there was one more. Bone McKay, Case Comics, Marshall Lee. I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Robert Johnson was a little while ago. I guess Chris McQuillan is up next. I guess he's now in the 90s. So just over a week for Chris to go. Ooh, it's exciting. Pile of chicken, vegetables for today, tortellini. So I just thought of something. So once again, just like on day 77, I started drawing the obvious. One of the obvious things that I figured she would be doing is to finish up the conversation, be left alone, and then on day 77, I started toying with the ideas of her talking to friends, but that's not possible because, you know, the radio antenna is broken down, they're offline. I thought of her unpacking, but then she's been on board for 3 days already, so is that really important? But then it kind of adds a little bit to her character, I suppose. I thought of her filing the report and just writing offline so that at the next opportunity she can do that. But then I remembered my monologue at the start of the comic book, which is not in the comic book, by this guy, so it'd be too similar. And like I could play it off so there's different points of view, but that's kind of what happened on the previous page already, so that's not going to happen. So I just drew the obvious thing again, that she's left alone, no text, like they say something here, and here she's just alone, like nothing. And then she starts to unpack, and then I move those panels around, and I thought to myself, well, I want to illustrate the world where she comes from, but I actually want to show it. Like, what is the way in which I can actually show that? So the parallel with Anne would be she has pictures, but because she's much more well-to-do and is not from this vessel and this layer of society, I thought, well, it is sci-fi, so why not something science fiction-y like virtual reality? So then I thought, like, okay, so he leaves She puts on some kind of virtual reality glasses, talks, and then talks with not really actually live talking, but listens to conversations, recordings from the past. I can show that here. I can show where she actually comes from as a contrast. And then I go back to her actually being where she is and unpacking, and it's sad, but then you've seen where she comes from, so you understand her being upset at possibly catching the captain in the act of breaking the rules and then her having to take over. So that is kind of my inspiration, my sudden bolt of inspiration behind a day and a half of trying to come up with what should be on this page. A little virtual reality, grabbing something in the virtual space, showing her actual person here with a helmet. So let's finish this up. In the meantime, I'll be leaving you to work on your own projects, and I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow on day 79 of 100 Days of Making Comics.